a different way to look at things. Instead of always focusing on what's your weak point, sometimes focus on what's your strength.
So I think that you can do 1,000 pounds. That's the fact of it. You've got great deadlift proportions. You're very, very strong. And it's a funny blend because I believe that the squat is one of the best things that you can do to develop a strong deadlift.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, you're using the same structures, loading the same structures, your spine and your hips, with a squat and a deadlift. So at this level, when you're lifting this much on a squat and a deadlift, they compete with each other for recovery. Reese is a technician as well as a strong guy.
So, and I'm handsome as well.
And he's handsome as well.
And I'm actually not a virgin. I know that's shocking. I think one of the big ones for me is obviously maximizing your leverages, so making everything as long as you possibly can. Now, I'm not talking about your penis, I'm actually talking about the length of your arms and your torsos. And welcome back to your mum's favorite channel on YouTube, Cult Strength, baby. We're down at Base Gym today for my favorite day of the week, deadlift day, of course. 7 weeks out of competition today, so we're getting pretty close. This is stuck shut. I can't even open my pre-workout. That's always good. What's going on here? Now we got it. That is a sign of strength. So it's deadlift day. I was feeling confident, and now not so much. But we did prevail. That is a win. So technically we're okay. Maybe I just need some pre-workout. That's probably it. So we'll take a scoop of this in now. But as I said, 7 weeks out. So in the plan for today, it's my moderate deadlift week. So it's not my heavy deadlift week. Last week we hit a conservative 340 kilo single, and that was pretty easy. So next week will be heavy again. So this week, around 600 pounds, some deficit work. But we're also going to sit down with Bass as well. Bass is here today. And we're going to talk a little bit about my plan, you know, going into the next 6 months with my deadlift as I look to qualify for a big competition. So we need to have a plan for that, and I wanted to sort of let you guys in on that, so you can see what, you know, what I'm working towards and how that looks, because obviously, you know, I'll be filming all the sessions and bringing you on that journey with me. So maybe you'd like that, maybe not. It's too bad. You're gonna watch it. Let's get it. Not bad at all. Remember, Energy of the Gods Hercules supplements. Use your code, the Wolf King 666, for a nice little discount. But right now, we'll do some warm-ups. We'll get some activations in. We'll set up a barbell. Probably use a Texas bar today. Start getting used to a bit more whip, because I do think that obviously handling 400 kilos plus, there's a lot of whip on the bar, and it's a very unique thing. And that can sometimes throw you off. So I'm gonna get used to using whippier bar, maybe a few bumper plates as well. You know, it looks good, looks cool. Makes you look stronger than you are, which is nice. All right, baby, so we have 70 kilos on the bar now. As I was saying, this is my moderate week for deadlifts. Now, typically, I used to go heavy almost every week, right? And as I said, that works for so long, but eventually it just led me to, you know, too much pain in my body, niggles and injuries and things like that, and I couldn't continue to progress without being in more and more pain. So obviously had to reevaluate how I was doing things, so we've decided to go for the heavy week on, the next week being more moderate. I wouldn't say it's like light. 270 kilos is the goal for today. We're doing it off a deficit, making it a little more difficult than normal. So it's not an easy session, it's just not gonna be as heavy or as challenging as that hard week, okay? So it's that kind of week in between to recover, to do enough that I don't get weaker, and then obviously, you know, execute that heavy session and get the most out of that I can. And that's generally a much lower in volume session, because, you know, the heavy pulls, we only have so many of those in us per session before it becomes too hard to recover from. and it becomes detrimental. So that's kind of the goal at the moment, right? So discipline this week, that's really hard for me. You know, I'm an avid fan of deadlifting heavy, so this session itself, the most challenging part is sticking to the fucking plan. But we're gonna have to if I wanna obviously get anywhere near 1,000 pounds in a suit. That doesn't just happen by doing whatever you wanna fucking do. We'll get to work now. Let's get it. We'll do, say 5 or 6 reps here, and we'll make 50 kilogram jumps up until the top set. Yeah, buddy. So we've got 120 kilos on the bar now. And, you know, my heavy week, I'm doing the top set as a regular deadlift. I'm doing the back down work as pause deadlifts. And on my alternate week, I'm hitting deficit deadlifts as the main movement. Now, something that I think I can always continue to work on is my deadlift lockout. We all have a weak point, yes, that's pretty normal. If no one had a weak point, obviously the sky would be the limit, and that's not the case. But for me, my, you know, the factor that does stop me progressing further with my deadlift is my lockout. Generally, I can get the weights to fly off the ground pretty quickly, but that lockout can sometimes be a little sticky, and that's due to a loss of positioning, all right, off the floor. Now, the deficit deadlift, an excellent movement for becoming really strong off the ground and also in an even worse position, right? So if you look here, we've got a little deficit. So we're increasing the range of motion and we're forcing ourselves to start in a worse position than we typically would with a regular deadlift. Now, the idea is that if you can maintain a strong position from here, that when we go back to the floor, generally our starting position is a lot more solid and we can maintain that position to the top, which allows our lockout to be smoother. Now that's the idea, right? So we're gonna obviously, I'm approaching this from multiple angles because I know that deadlifting 1,000 pounds is hard, it's rare. Okay, so to get there, I'm gonna have to make sure that I'm covering all my bases, essentially, right? That I'm strong everywhere, there's no weaknesses, and that my body is bulletproof. And these are, you know, these are the things that I'm doing to attempt to make that happen. So we'll do another set here, 4 reps or so, and then we'll move into some, probably some singles as we continue to get towards the top set. That's what's up. Airplane. All right, baby, 170 kilos on the bar now. Now, I think, you know, keeping in mind that I'm 7 weeks out of my competition, this competition for me is definitely more of a practice run. However, I still take it seriously and I still want to perform really well. Okay, obviously, out of respect for myself and out of respect for the people holding the competition, I don't want to go there and just take the piss. We want to do well. Okay, now, in saying that, this is not my end game. This is a part of the process for me qualifying for an event that I want to qualify, Giants Live 2025 World Deadlift Championships. Now, I will probably look to qualify for that in around February, with a competition that I have my eye on. But in the meantime, I need to get myself a lot stronger and I need practice with competition because competition is a skill. Yes, I'm doing the same shit that I do in the gym, but everything else is different, okay? The atmosphere is different, where we're doing it is different, the equipment may be different, there's pressure, there's nerves, whatever it is, right? There's other layers that come into it. And we need to have familiarity with these things if we want to do really well. So if any of you obviously are looking to compete or you want to be good in competition, you must do competitions to get good at them, okay? It's very difficult to just lift in the gym and then go and expect to do exactly the same thing in a high pressure situation. So my goal for the competition, I would like to think that I could get myself to a nice 385 kilogram, maybe 390 kilogram raw deadlift in the next 7 weeks. You know, I think at a minimum, that's a lovely goal to have, because remember, this isn't a competition I'm peaking for. I'm peaking for something in February. So my training at the moment is more so designed for that further away competition, not so much for this competition, because if I was 7 weeks out of a meet normally, I wouldn't be doing deficit work. I'd be a lot more specific in my approach. But we're going to talk more about programming with Bass in a few sets. We're going to sit down and go over kind of my entire game plan looking forward into the future at qualifying for this competition, what training will look like, and what numbers I'll kind of have to be pulling to give myself a chance. We'll hit this now. It's enough talk, baby. Let's get it. One rep. Yeah, buddy. It's easy. It's very easy. I like how your shirt says strength system, but like it was like for Pornhub.
You know what my mum said? She goes, I love your new logo. I'm like, which one, Mum? She goes, the one with the orange. It's like really nice choice of colours. And I'm like, are you joking? She goes, no. I go, have you ever seen it before? She goes, no. And I go, it is like, it came from it's just a joke. It's a porno site. And you know what she said? Oh, I must check it out.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
I'm thinking, no, you must.
You gotta check it out, bro.
Like, what the fuck is wrong with you, Mum?
That's okay.
Anyway,
every mum's different, you know.
She's different, all right.
Just maybe didn't need to know that.
I didn't need to know that.
But I like the shirt.
Not about my mum.
I don't actually watch porn, but I like to think about it in my head.
For yourself.
Yeah, in my head. Yeah, I do. I make it for myself. I literally film myself going at it alone, and then I watch it back later and critique. I critique my own form. I'm like, that could look bigger. You know what I mean? Whatever I can.
Yep.
To help, different angles. Yeah. It's important.
Yeah, I like that. Could look bigger. Oh my god.
You don't know what angles you're sending. Practice. All right, baby, 220 kilos. Last warm up, and then we're gonna have a chat with Sebastian about some, obviously, like programming and the plan going into these competitions. But we'll hit this shit now. Let's get it.
Separation. That's what I'm talking about. Many urinations on my floor. That's your it could be you next. But we're not going to do that. I'll tell you now. It's a funny
Lovely. Hold hands at least.
the whole time? Can you imagine?
All right. So, Bass here. Now, backstory, how long have we been working together? Like 7 years now, 6 years?
Yeah, you came to me initially with a pec tear and you wanted to do some benching. And then that would have been about 7 years ago. It was well before COVID.
That was a long time ago. And I think back then my total was like 985 and I couldn't crack the 1,000.
Yeah.
So, came to this fella. Since then we've done 4 1,000 kilo plus totals.
Pretty good.
1,050 kilos is my best. And now I'm on to a bit of a different side quest, you could say. So we're chasing an invite. Well, I'm chasing the invite to Giants Live 2025 World Deadlift Championship, strongman competition. You've coached a few people in that competition yourself.
Yep.
Such as?
One guy you may know, Thor Bjornsson.
Maybe. Who's that? Is he tall?
He's tall. He's deadlifted 501 kilograms before, and I think that's the world record.
That's fucking cool. And now, just a quick thing. I'm a coach myself. I've been coaching for nearly a decade, but like I still seek help from somebody who can help me get better, right? So he's coaching the best in the world. I want to be one of the best in the world. Therefore, here we are, right? It's important to know.
Yeah, I'll tell you what else is important to know. It's like guys like that teach me how to teach guys like Thor as well. You know, so I've learned a lot of my deadlifting techniques from working with guys like Reese. And if you follow my page,
Australian Strength Coach,
you'll see videos where I talk about how I emulate his technique, because he's got a pretty damn good technique. And yeah, so we work very closely together with troubleshooting. That's how it goes, right? It's not a matter of you do as I say or anything like that. It's a matter of let's discuss it, let's see where you're at.
I think with like top level athletes as well, it's not textbook shit anymore. So he wouldn't teach me the same way he would teach someone coming into the sport. You know, there's things that I do differently that we wouldn't teach anybody else, but it works for me. And it's also about finding what those things are and then obviously making them a real strength. You know, that's a different way to look at things. Instead of always focusing on what's your weak point, sometimes focus on what's your strength and then hit that hard. Yeah.
Yeah, and also a different journey. Like when you're training for a powerlifting competition, you've got 3 big lifts that you're training for.
Yeah.
Now that you're training for a deadlift only, you're still training other things, but it just changes the way you prioritize it. So I can't give you the same program that I've given to someone else because it's a different phase of your training.
Yeah, and we were saying before, like, because I am prepping for a deadlift specific event, right? You know, my other training during the week is also a big factor. So, you know, we're typically during powerlifting preps where we're trying to bring up 3 lifts, squat, bench, and deadlift. That can be really difficult in itself. But when we're doing, you know, a deadlift only prep, we're in a kind of lucky position where we don't have to put so much emphasis on, for example, a low bar competition squat. So obviously, would you say that keeping an eye on the intensity and the volume that you're working with those other lower body movements is important?
So much, and it's a funny blend because I believe that the squat is one of the best things that you can do to develop a strong deadlift.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, you're using the same structures, loading the same structures, your spine and your hips, with a squat and a deadlift. So at this level, when you're lifting this much on a squat and a deadlift, they compete with each other for recovery.
They do.
So sometimes when people want to do a heavy squat in the same week as a heavy deadlift, it's like one thing, it's a good day on the deadlift day, and then the squat suffers, or vice versa. And you have to find the right blend on how often to go heavy. But right now that you've got deadlift only, I'd say your squats would never be as heavy as your deadlifts.
Never. And I think something that I tend to do when I'm in this position is, instead of, you know, doing a squat where I can handle the most amount of weight, I'm doing a more difficult squat variation. So I'm still using a squat pattern, but for me, I'm going to be, you know, going between something like a front-loaded squat, like a Zercher squat and a front squat, or something like a tempo high bar squat or a paused high bar squat, opposed to a traditional heavy low bar squat.
Love those. It's like a way to really stimulate strength gain, but it's not as heavy, and so therefore it's not as taxing on the nervous system. So I think that's a really a key factor for prescribing different variations. Like, I still want to train hard, but you got to understand, when you load a really, really heavy weight to your spine and your hips, that's a lot more taxing and a lot more time to recover from than if you're to do your Zercher squats, which is really hard, especially how heavy you go.
But it's not as taxing because you're handling much less weight. And it's not relative. Like 400 kilo squat versus a 250 kilo squat, no matter the variation, the 400 kilo squat's going to kill you. I can recover from 250 even if it feels really hard. It's only 250, which for me is okay. You know what I mean? But I also think, you know, going into this 7-week block before the competition, as I was saying before to the guys, like, I'm not prepping for this competition. My idea is to be prepping for this qualifier in February. And I was thinking I need to be obviously in a suit by then. The competition I'm going to be attempting to qualify for is strongman, so you can wear a strap and you can wear a suit, whether it's single ply, multiply. You can do it raw, but when you're competing against guys who are already freaks, why give them even more of an advantage? I'm going to have to get used to the equipment. But in terms of that, you know, I'm going to need to probably pull upwards of 430 kilos in a suit to even get on the radar, because it's a 1,000-pound deadlifters competition.
Yeah, that's right. I think the last time I saw it was like one of the events was 6 people pulled 1,000 pounds. That's insane.
That is crazy.
And so I think that you can do 1,000 pounds. That's the fact of it. You've got great deadlift proportions. You're very, very strong. And also, you've practiced so much without a suit. It'd be so good to see you back in a suit.
Yeah, definitely.
And, you know, these guys, I don't know if you've paid much attention to the comps that Thor's been in recently. That's all unsuited.
Yeah,
and everyone's doing 1,000-pound deadlifts in these competitions. But Thor's the only one that's been able to pull 1,000 without the suit. So therefore it's showing me there's a big difference with suited and unsuited.
And their numbers there's a big disparity. I'm talking like 40, 50 kilos between their max equipped and their max raw deadlifts.
Yeah, exactly. I've heard people say that they've tried a suit for the first time and put 40 kilos on their deadlift for the first time.
It can happen.
I don't think that'll happen to everyone, so don't go out there and go, I'll deadlift 40 kilos more with a suit. It's a training, like you got to learn the skill.
You do.
But you know, that's what we're here for. Reese is a technician as well as a strong guy. So,
and I'm handsome as well.
And he's handsome as well.
And I'm actually not a virgin. I know that's shocking.
That's deadlift.
Yeah, it's deadlift. But no. In all seriousness though, the plan moving forward obviously is, as I've discussed, heavy, light, because I've done the heavy. Doesn't work, and he has told me for years to stop doing that, but I'm stubborn. But this is one of the times where I'm actually going to really fucking listen, because the fact is that he has helped people achieve things I haven't done before. So I'm going to have to do it a little bit differently, right? And that's part of my learning process as a lifter. It's also tough. It's tough. Would you say it's tough to put your trust in someone else when your gut says something?
When you're that, it's not just when your gut says something. When you're that good, it's like, I know it works. Look how strong I am, and I'm proving that it works. And then it's like, okay, now I'm going to leave it in someone else's hands. But that's the fact of it. You're not entirely leaving it into in my hands, because we discuss it every time.
We do.
And it's not as though like he does what I say. I'm another set of eyes, and that's all it is. And he's got a lot of great knowledge with his training, as do I. And we just come to a happy medium in the end.
Put it together, come together, and get some stuff done.
Let's hold hands as we come together.
We're going to get back to deadlifts now. Thanks, bro. I appreciate that. Thanks for doing the chat. Let's get it. All right, gang. Set 1 of 2 working sets, 5 repetitions, but it should be pretty freaking easy. Let's do it. It's banging in here at the moment. It's weird training with no music, but I do like it.
Still, bro. Easy reps.
Let's go.
Yes. Smooth. Nice. Easy. Play 2 more. Yeah. Let's go. Easy rep. Nice. Yeah, bro.
Yeah, buddy. Thank you, sir.
Very good.
1 more set. All right, baby. Now, second set of these. Now, a lot of the time, obviously, when sets are easy, the last set, typically, I might try and do an extra rep or 2. But in this instance, right, with what I'm trying to achieve, the point of it is to not fucking do that, to make it really easy and to make sure that there's plenty of reps in the tank after each set. So I'm sticking to the 5 reps, even though obviously I could probably do 8 to 10. I don't need to do that this week. The heavier weeks, you know, that's where if things are feeling good, I may take a little bit more. But these are the weeks where it's just come in, do the boring shit, because the boring shit has to be done to make you better sometimes. And it's as simple as that. Let's go. Easy.
Yes. Nice. 2 more. Good, man. One last one. Yeah. Very easy.
Easy. That's what's up. Thank you, sir. Happy days. We'll take a few minutes, and then we've got some RDLs. Let's go. All right, so the 2 top sets of the deficit deadlift are done. Now we've got the RDLs. Now the RDLs is a great movement because it's almost the opposite in how we load for a deadlift. There's no emphasis when I deadlift on the eccentric, meaning the portion where we go down. The RDL, the focus is on the eccentric and time under tension, loading the hamstrings and the posterior chain. So 2 sets of this now, 6 to 8 reps. I'd say 8 repetitions, 220 kilos, and then we'll finish with some hamstring curls, baby. That sounds good. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah. Second set, baby. Let's go. Yeah, buddy. Fuck. All right, guys, now before we wrap the session up, we wanted to give you guys, something to really take away from this session, okay? From, both of our perspectives. There's a lot of things that obviously go into building a big deadlift, and there's probably a lot of questions you guys always have. I know people are always looking for, the next big secret, or the next fucking top exercise to add kilos instantly. What's the best program you can run to add kilos to your deadlift? Now, there's a lot of good programs out there. There's a fuck ton of good programs out there. End of the day, doesn't matter what program you run if you're not actually executing the program properly or the lift. So I guess to take away from today's session, what's something you think that people could apply to their deadlift training that is gonna give them a real advantage over somebody who obviously just tries to take those shortcuts or has no real guidance?
I think the biggest contributing factor to your long-term progression is understanding technique. And that's something that I reckon people look at you and they go, he's got a big deadlift because look how big he is. But take it from me, it's not just because he's big and strong, he's got very good lifting technique. And some things that I know that he nails really, really well, I guess keeping the bar close to his body, it's like the center of mass, which is like the collar of the barbell, if you look inside on, needs to be in line with your midfoot. So how's the best way of keeping it in line is using your lats. So he keeps the bar close by thinking about pulling the bar into his body. That's what I'm always teaching. A lot of the times when someone fails a deadlift, it's because they've lost tension in their upper back and the bar's drifted away from their body. So keeping the bar close to your body by thinking about armpits to pelvis or pull the bar into your shins. That's why you're not wearing them now, but you were wearing the shin pads.
Yeah, shin
right?
sleeves, yes.
So that's what I like to teach, is to wear those so you're not scared to drag it up your shins, because it hurts.
It does.
Hurts me,
it does,
sure.
Man.
So not if you have those shin protectors on. So keep it close to your body, and that's how you're going to maximize. So that's lats and also efficiency, keeping it close to your body. There's like two of many, many really important tips. What
Absolutely.
are some of yours?
I think one of the big ones for me is obviously maximizing your leverages, so making everything as long as you possibly can. Now, I'm not talking about your penis, I'm actually talking about the length of your arms and your torso. So a cue that I like to use is, for the lats, is just simply hands by the side, push your fingertips to the floor as hard as you can, and almost squeeze your pecs. Your lats will automatically turn on and you're nice and long, okay? Now, it's important to keep that position when you grab the bar. So when you're taking the slack out of the bar, use the weight to continue to lengthen your arm, okay? Don't bend your elbows, keep pushing. Well, I think about locking my elbow, not tensing it, just keeping it locked, pushing my fingertips down as hard as I can, and then using that weight to anchor myself in and stretch myself even further. At the same time, crown of the head to the ceiling, everything's nice and long. The bar should be actually bending in the middle, obviously improving your leverages. That's big for me.
I think they're very good tips.
Yeah, and one more big thing, don't overreach in your training all the time. One thing I did continually, as a newer lifter, which definitely sabotaged me, was, you would call it ego. I think it was just a lack of direction. It was just thinking I had to go heavier each week to continue to progress. That hurts you. You can do that for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, maybe. Eventually you break. And those guys that are the good deadlifters, the strong guys, they don't do that to continue getting stronger, obviously.
I think that's most of the people that I've encountered go through that, and me too. When I first figured out that deadlift was the strongest lift in the gym, I just kept going heavier and heavier and heavier until I injured my back.
Yep.
So absolutely, stop maxing out all the time. Every now and then, for sure.
You gotta have some fun. You gotta cook sometimes, right? But have some discipline. And when you max out, it doesn't have to be a true max. You can also just go heavy without maxing out. That serves more of a purpose to you than obviously just absolutely hitting your ceiling, because I think as well, when you hit those ceiling numbers, your technique can turn to absolute shit, and that only hurts your deadlift in the long run. speaking from experience, big time. There was phases of training, bro, where I was so hell-bent on a number that it fucked my technique, because every session I ended up overreaching by 5 to 10 kilos. So none of my sessions were executed properly. Got to the top end, couldn't figure out why I wasn't strong enough to obviously maintain technique to lock something up.
So going just short of fail lets you know that you could have done more as well.
Exactly.
So last week you did 340 with more in the tank.
Yep.
That's fantastic. And guess what that means? It means you get to go heavier next week.
Maybe 355, 360.
I think there was 355, 360 on that day.
And then the goal for next week is maybe 370 in the tank, and we leave 10 kilos on the board.
Yep.
That's the way to go. Hope that helps. You definitely add some of that shit to your training, you're going to get a bigger deadlift. Cheers, bro.
Cheers, you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Thanks, very handsome.
Yes.
Yes, he is. 3 sets of hamstring curls to finish the session off now. Again, the hamstring is something that I feel like I probably neglected, for a long time. Something that I found really boring to train, to be completely honest with you, but we don't train the hamstring in this unique way when we deadlift, okay? This is something that I think you should be definitely adding into your training. Obviously, a lot of guys spend time working on their quads, do their leg press, their leg extensions, but they don't have that focus on the hamstrings, okay? It's very uncomfortable, it's very boring, but if you want, obviously, a strong, balanced body and you want a healthy lower back, then I think strong hamstrings are really important. I think that a reason I had a lot of lower back issues was due to my weaker hamstrings. They weren't weak, but they weren't as strong as the rest of other parts of my body, right? 3 sets, we'll finish it up. All right, baby. So that wraps up the deadlift session. 7 weeks out of competition, but I'm definitely looking forward to next week's heavy session. It's hard doing, the light stuff. Well, it's not hard. It's an easier session, but in terms of, coming in here and actually doing it, it's not as motivating. But you get it done, and then, have a whole week to be excited for the next one. And that's going to be, I think, 355 kilos, or maybe a bit heavier. I'm not too sure yet, but it's going to be heavy. But we're back down here in 2 days, bench pressing with Big Vassar, Australia's biggest bench presser. That's on Saturday. So we have a session. He's about 9 weeks out of competition. So I think he's looking to bench around 250 kilos. But right now I'm in the neighborhood of my favorite burger and hot dog place. So I'm going to go and stuff my face with some hot dogs. No homo. You know what I'm saying? Extra sauce, extra cheese. And then I'm going to head home and edit this video. But it's been a good day. Hope you got something out of it. There's a lot of information and knowledge to take from this session. So I do hope you apply it. Obviously, yes, I like to entertain. Yes, I like to lift weights. But most importantly, get some value out of this and apply it to your own training. Until next time, you know what to do. Go to the fucking gym, baby. Let's get it.